Let's talk about what happens during peak. Joe, let's start from the brand side. So you've prepared, you've done as much as you can. Now you're in the thick of it. So what does a day-to-day during peak look like for you?
So during peak, my job becomes very much like managing internal stakeholders, right? And making sure everybody has the information they need to make whatever decisions need to be made. Now, the good news is that if you've prepared correctly, peak can be like a set it and forget it type of situation to some extent, right? Like there are very few levers you can pull in the moment during that very brief high intensity period that will like effectively make change if you haven't prepared in advance. With OceanX, luckily, we do a lot of stress testing, a lot of volume stress testing, not just from a technology standpoint, but also on a physical, how many shipments can you ship in 5 or 6 hours to try and simulate a peak period. So if we've done all of that in advance, and if we've done it right, the day-to-day of peak becomes more of like a reporting exercise. So we are monitoring a number of KPIs. So we're monitoring our backlog defined as the number of unshipped orders at a given time. We're monitoring how many orders are coming in per hour versus how many are going out per hour, and that's going to directly move the needle. Like that'll move the trend line for your backlog up or down. And we are sort of most acutely looking at when will peak be over. Aside from wanting it to be over for the stress of it to end, we need to understand when our customers can expect a more normal, typical delivery promise. So we will take a number of data points, that being our forecast, how we're trending to forecast, OceanX or a 3PL's shipment plan. So how many shipments are they shipping per day and per hour? Put that all together to create a calculation that tells us, based on historicals and the upcoming plan, peak will be over on this day or that day. And then we're communicating that out internally. And what levers can be pulled in terms of marketing and whatnot, do get pulled based on that information. But that's most of what we're looking at. Immediately following like our high intensity like sale period is when everything is getting shipped. And so at that point, we're watching for carrier capacity. And I know we touched on that a little bit later, but we are trying to make sure that the carriers are coming in, the carriers are going out, they have sufficient trucks lined up, sufficient trailers, and that, like which was the unfortunate case last year, packages aren't sitting for days or weeks at the carrier sort centers. And so we're watching all of that. We look at a lot of scan data from the carriers. So, when did the first scan occur? Trying to understand our click to ship and ship to deliver times. Those will be very important things to monitor. And so you put that all together, and that's what we're reporting out internally, so that people sort of know what to expect, know where we are, know that whether there are fires or are not fires, by and large, there's not fires, that we need to deal with or take some action on. So for the most part, it's just a matter of monitoring these KPIs and trusting our partners. And luckily, for instance, last year, even though that was a very tough peak, probably the calmest hour of my day was like the end of day check-ins with Rav and team to find out that by and large things were going really great. So it was a very, very healthy hour of the day for me last year during a very chaotic peak.